The lab smelled like sterilized polymer and antiseptic, two scents that meant progress in my world. Under the surgical light sat the printer, humming while it built a living lattice 1 micron at a time. My Dermalink bioink, cultured cells suspended in a polymer scaffold, moved through the nozzle like it knew where it belonged. On the steel table waited the test pad, synthetic dermal tissue engineered to mimic a degree burn, torn collagen, empty capillary channels, a surface designed to reject hope. "Come on," I whispered through my mask. The monitor stayed calm, temperature stable, cell viability 96%, elasticity perfect. 12 years of research, and tonight the numbers finally stopped arguing. The printer beeped, test complete. I lifted the graft with sterilized tweezers, warm, slick, alive. I laid it onto the damaged pad, the edges fused, capillary channels aligned, the surface sealed like skin remembering itself. My chest loosened. If clinical trials confirmed what I was seeing, burn victims wouldn't wait months for reconstruction. They'd heal in weeks, maybe days. My phone vibrated against the counter. I ignored it until the wall monitor snapped with a sharp alert that didn't belong to the printer. Patent vault, secure access detected, unauthorized IP. Then the line that turned my blood to ice, access granted. No, I stepped to the console, fingers already moving. The patent vault was my private server, every blueprint, protocol, dataset, and hard-earned correction locked behind an encryption certificate. Not a password, not a code, a key. I opened the system log, foreign IP, 3 minutes ago, folder, project DRMLNK, full patent package, download in progress. The trace returned one brutal sentence, authorized via registered security key. Owner, Elena Torres. My hands froze, then the log finished writing, data transfer complete. Recipient, Helix Biomedical Corporation, transaction value $750,000, Helix, a rival, a corporate predator that bought innovation and buried inventors in contracts. Under initiating devices, the system listed 3 familiar tags tied to one shared network: mother device, brother laptop, sister tablet, the people who'd eaten dinner in my kitchen last week. The people who called my lab cute. They'd just sold 12 years of my life for $750,000. I stared at the graft, sealed, perfect, alive, and felt the ugly truth settle in. I'd built something to heal skin, and my family had just ripped mine clean off. People think digital theft is invisible. No ink, no smudges, just clicks. They forget engineers leave fingerprints inside the work. I pulled up the patent package Helix received. At first glance, it looked like my files: growth matrix algorithms, vascular mapping, thermal stability tables. Then I found the scar. Every recursive loop I write for live cell printing ends with a 2-millisecond delay instruction. Not because the processor needs it, because living cells do. Computational pacing that mirrors biological rhythm, a heartbeat in code. I searched the Dermalink loop. No delay, no heartbeat, just maximum processor speed, cold, mechanical, dead. Helix hadn't bought my invention, they'd bought a copy that didn't breathe. That's how I knew my encryption key wasn't used. It was forged. I checked the handshake record. My real key pings the vault twice before authorizing, a validation I added after a phishing attempt years ago. The forged session pinged once, dead trace. They had the shape of my identity, but none of the habits that make it mine. And in that missing heartbeat, they left the one thing forensic people love: proof. Machines keep logs. People keep stories, families keep excuses, but staring at my own name authorizing my own theft, I realized I'd been keeping records too quietly, unwillingly. A ghost ledger. Item 1: the empty graduation seats cost, realizing my biggest day ranked below their hobby's status, overdue, 4 years of biomedical engineering, 2 fellowships, my name in bold on the program. The seats I saved stayed empty. We got busy, my mother said later. My brother Mateo had sailing, my sister Sophia had brunch. Item 2: little science project cost, years spent proving what should have been respected on-site status, overdue. When I turned the garage into a lab, Dad stood in the doorway and laughed. So this is your little science project. Item 3: the stolen savings cost, my first lesson that family can mean unsecured creditors, status, overdue. At 16, I saved $4,000 for textbooks. One afternoon it vanished. We moved it temporarily, Mom said. Mateo damaged his boat, the money never returned. Item 4: the prototype share cost, ownership diluted before my work matured, status, overdue. I showed an early scaffold at dinner. Sophia called it a fancy bandage. 2 weeks later, she pitched it to a distributor without my name. Item 5, the reference that killed funding, cost, 2 years of research delayed by sabotage dressed as honesty status, overdue. My parents volunteered as personal references. Later I learned Dad told the committee, Elena's brilliant but obsessed with unrealistic inventions, grant denied. Item 6, holiday humiliation, cost, credibility eroded in rooms where reputation is currency status, overdue. Every December, this is Elena. She does experiments at home, never engineer, never inventor, always a hobby. Item 7, the emergency access card, cost, security compromised by loyalty status, overdue. 6 months ago, Mateo asked for a digital access card in case something happens. I gave it, it touched my network, it touched my vault gateway. Item 8, tonight, cost, the final proof they never saw me as an owner, only a resource, status, catastrophically overdue. They forged my key, accessed my vault, sold Dermalink to Helix for $750,000 and called it help. 8 items, 12 years, the ledger didn't care about their intentions. It only cared about balance, and once you open a ledger like that, there's only one honest next step, collect. Fraud doesn't just hit the target, it ricochets. 48 hours after the breach, I was standing in my kitchen with cold coffee and a lab notebook I couldn't read. My hands kept rewriting the same line, unauthorized, like repetition could make it less real. Daniel Ruiz called me at 7:12 a.m. 22. Cybersecurity intern, smart, cautious, hungry for a career. Dr. Torres, he said, voice wrecked, I've been terminated. Behind him, I could hear the tinny echo of a stairwell, like he'd stepped outside so no one could watch him fall apart. What? I sat up so fast my neck popped. Why? They said I leaked your vault credentials. The logs show my access card authenticated the intrusion. Daniel had told me once he wanted to work for a hospital system, the kind of job where you stop breaches before they hurt people. He said. It with that bright. New adult certainty. Now his certainty sounded like ash. I pulled up my console. Daniel's credentials were there, cleanly stamped into the traffic, but the timestamp was wrong. The breach occurred 2 hours before his shift started. Someone had injected his credentials into the stream, a scapegoat written into the story so the real thieves could stay invisible. And it worked because systems love clean explanations. A junior intern makes a mistake, a company fires him, everyone moves on, except I didn't do it, he whispered. I know, I said. And I meant it with the certainty of someone who reads machines for a living. Daniel exhaled, shaky. No company will hire someone accused of IP theft. The call ended. I stared at the server rack, blue LEDs blinking like a pulse that didn't care who it hurt. My family hadn't only stolen my work, they destroyed an innocent kid's future to protect their lie. My anger didn't explode, it froze. Cold rage has a clean edge, and clean edges cut. I opened my lab cabinet and pulled out a fresh evidence drive, brand new, sealed. If my family wanted to play in my world, they were about to learn my rules: document, verify, preserve. Then I called Agent Collins back and said, let's make this airtight. 4 days later. Agent Mara Collins from the FBI's Cybercrimes Division walked into my lab carrying 2 laptops and the calm of someone who's watched criminals unravel themselves. The servers hummed behind locked glass, the printer smelled faintly of warm polymer. Collins looked at my setup. You built this in your house? Yep, I said. Because nobody funded me when it was still a science project. She glanced at the printer, the graft pad, the sterile wipes, the server rack humming like a caged animal. Home labs are messy. But logs don't care where the server sits. I built everything in my house, I said, including the mistake my family made. We ran the audit like surgery. Week 1, raw vault logs. Authentication sessions, transfer records, the key matched my certificate, but the routing used a cheap proxy, enough to delay, not enough to hide. Week 2, the proxy traced to a residential line. My parents' house, Collins didn't blink. Family cases are common, they're rarely subtle. Week 3, the transfer path revealed an intermediary node, a dark web marketplace server. Collins pulled up a cached page and turned her screen toward me. There was my work, reduced to a listing like it was a watch or a stolen car. Exclusive medical IP, regenerative skin graft platform. My brother posted it under the handle Blue Harbor 88. Reserve $750,000. He even wrote a pitch: immediate scalability, high margin licensing. Limited competition. I stared at the text until my jaw ached. He doesn't even know what the delay instruction does, I said. Collins's tone stayed flat. Criminals don't need to understand the product, they just need to understand greed. Week 4, Helix purchased it within 6 hours. Payment moved through crypto into an offshore account owned jointly by my parents. Week 5, log manipulation confirmed, packet injection, Daniel's credentials inserted. The injection overlapped with a device on my family's network, Mateo's laptop. Week 6, the FBI seized devices, laptops, phones, drives. My mother's tablet still had Helix's contact saved as "nice man from Helix." My father had printed the dark web messages like it was a recipe. Mateo's laptop had the crypto wallet password in a text file named "Don't Forget" TXT. The evidence was almost insulting: screenshots of the listing, negotiation emails. Wallet addresses saved in notes and a spreadsheet titled "Retirement Fund World Tour." Budget $750,000, cruises, villas, luxury trains across Asia, my work funding their vacation life. Collins closed her laptop. People always leave breadcrumbs. Next, I asked. She met my eyes. Next, we let federal court do what families won't. For the first time since the alert flashed red, my breathing felt steady. My parents demanded a meeting before charges were filed, like reality was negotiable. Their living room smelled like expensive candles and polished wood, manufactured comfort. Mom smiled too hard. Dad sat like a judge. Mateo leaned against the wall. Sophia scrolled her phone like this was boring. "Elena," Mom said softly, "you've blown this out of proportion." I sat down without taking off my coat. "Explain it then." Dad folded his hands. "We only sold it to help you." "Help me," I repeated. "Yes," he said, "Helix will make you famous." Mateo nodded. "You're not a business person. We handled the deal." Handled like I was a package. Sophia finally looked up. "750 is life-changing. You should thank us." I set my phone on the table, screen down, recording on. They didn't notice. "Just to confirm," I said, voice flat, "you accessed my encrypted vault without permission." "We had the key," Dad snapped. "You forged the key," I corrected. Mateo shrugged. "Your family." "It's basically the same thing." Silence. Even Sophia stopped scrolling. That sentence was a confession wrapped in entitlement. I stood. "Call a lawyer." Mom laughed nervously. "Don't be dramatic." "You'll ruin the family." I looked at her and felt nothing but clarity. "You ruined it," I said. "I'm just closing the account." I walked out while my phone saved the file that would bury them. Federal court smells like paper and polish in consequence. I stood at the podium. Across the room, my parents, Mateo, Sophia, smaller under fluorescent light, exposed by evidence. Judge Alvarez nodded. "Proceed, Your Honor," I said. "My name is Elena Torres. I'm a biomedical engineer specializing in regenerative skin technology." I kept my voice steady. "Engineers don't get to fall apart mid-trial. Dermalink is 12 years of work, lab trials, failure logs, nights listening to servers hum while waiting for living tissue to grow." I paused. "This technology exists for burn victims, people whose skin has been destroyed by fire, chemicals, explosions. A graft isn't just tissue," I continued, "it's protection. It's a barrier between a body and the world. Without it, bacteria wins, fluids leak, nerves stay exposed, pain becomes a lifestyle, recovery becomes impossible." I looked at my family. When they stole my research, they didn't only steal intellectual property. They stole time patients can't get back, time doctors needed to refine this, time survivors needed to heal. And they framed Daniel Ruiz, a 22-year-old cybersecurity intern, to cover their tracks. He lost his job and his future because they needed a scapegoat. I tightened my grip on the podium. Intellectual property is treated like a legal asset. But for scientists, it's deeper. It's soul property. It's the physical proof of years of curiosity and sacrifice. It's the thing you build when you trade comfort for progress, when you cancel birthdays because a culture plate can't be paused. When you fall asleep to the hum of incubators and wake up checking viability like it's a heartbeat. "My family believed blood entitled them to my work," I said. "But innovation doesn't inherit ownership. Creation belongs to the creator." They sold 12 years of human progress for $750,000, I finished, a number small enough to fit in a bank account. Big enough to erase a life's work, and if Helix had pushed those dead files into trials, big enough to hurt patients, because bad code in medicine isn't just wrong. "It's dangerous," I exhaled slowly. "They didn't just try to sell my research. They tried to sell the future of people whose skin no longer protects them. That's why accountability matters." When I stepped down, my legs felt steady, not because I was fearless. Because the truth is lighter when you stop carrying it alone. Judge Alvarez reviewed the evidence in silence. logs, transfers, the dark web listing, my recording, Daniel's termination file, the offshore account. This is a severe breach of federal intellectual property law, she said at last. You accessed encrypted systems without authorization. You sold proprietary biomedical technology. You framed an innocent person. Family does not excuse crime, she added, eyes hard, then the sentences clean, brutal. Both parents 24 months in federal prison. Elena Torres 36 months for digital fraud and evidence manipulation. Sophia Torres 12 months in federal custody and 18 months supervised release. All defendants will pay $750,000 in restitution plus damages, and a 5-year no-contact order is issued. You will not contact Dr. Torres unless she initiates it. The gavel struck, small sound, final result. The ledger balanced itself with math, not mercy. 2 years later, my lab smelled cleaner, bigger, sterile polymer, antiseptic, and new equipment paid for with legitimate deals. Rows of clinical-grade printers ran in steady rhythm. The server room sat behind locked glass and layered security. Chicago General's trial report glowed on my screen, recovery time cut in half, infection rates down, scarring reduced. A nurse had attached a note from a patient, a man who'd survived a refinery fire. Tell the person who made this that I can hold my daughter again without screaming, it read. I sat there longer than I meant to, letting that sentence do what no court ever could. Results, the point of all of it. Then my phone buzzed, an email from Daniel Ruiz, still fighting for work. Still punished by a lie even after it was disproven. I replied with one sentence, Daniel, Chief of Security, full authority, full benefits, if you want the job, it's yours. His answer came fast. I thought you might never ask. I watched the printers work, and for the first time I felt something like peace. Not because the past stopped existing, but because the future finally belonged to me again. Justice didn't just punish, it repaired. That night I generated a new encryption certificate, stronger, layered, tied to hardware that never leaves my possession. The console asked for authorization. My thumb pressed the biometric reader. Access granted, my files opened, blueprints, algorithms, years of work, alive, intact, mine. I thought about the ghost ledger, 8 items long, finally settled, collected, closed. My family once treated my life like an account they could withdraw from. They learned the final rule: my work is sole property and the master key belongs to me.